Record now. And the good news is that after this, we're going to send you a link to this video, and here we go, that you don't even have to worry about it. We're doing it on it. So anybody else that was trying to record it too, we're doing it for you. We'll put it on YouTube in a private link, and then you guys will see it. Oh my gosh, Amanda, you're due next week. For God's sake. Megan, you too. You kids are going to make me crazy. All right, I'm going to start boiling water and tearing up sheets, getting ready for the deliveries that is there. But I am really, really excited that you guys are here. Emily's actually in the hospital. Kids, what am I going to do with you guys? Okay, I don't know what's making that weird noise, but I'm hitting something on my keyboard, and I don't know why. Could you guys hear that I'm hitting something on my keyboard? I'm having a moment with this today. Yep, apparently it's my C button that's just going to keep pressing for reasons unknown. Okay, guys, I have a ghost, and their name begins with the letter C. So guess what I'm going to be doing? I will be disconnecting my keyboard because the ghosts are trying to kill me. All right, here we go. Disconnect the keyboard. All right, so now I have no keyboard. Now, weirdly, the C's are still happening even though I have no keyboard. That's spooky. Okay, that's really happening. But you guys could still see and hear me okay, right? Even the fact that I have some crazy here. This is what's happening. I'm going to show you. It's just literally typing in random C's. So spooky. Okay, so I'm going to get started, but I cannot believe that some of you are literally pregnant right now, but rest assured, I promise I got you covered. If you guys have never met me before, welcome. I'm Nat from Twiniversity, and we're going to get this party started, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself. So today, we got a lot to cover, but first, who am I and why do you even care about this? Well, first, I want to let you know, if you haven't already, I'm the author of a book called What to Do When You're Having Two, which is right there, and a little book called The Newborn Twins Sleep Guide. They are both for expecting families, so it is not just for people that have babies that are 5 months or for people that just found out. These books both cover everything from now through the first 6 months about. So if you don't have a copy of those, feel free. You could even get them at your local library. If they are not at your library, you could let us know. We could try to get them to your library, or you could request them at your library, and then you didn't have to spend a dime. Holla. All right. So in addition to being an author, I'm also a CPST, which stands for Child Passenger Safety Technician, which means that I am a car seat crazy person. I am not as neurotic as some of the most neurotic people, but I am really, really conscious about making sure that your children are safe 100% of the times, because I know as fact, I have never installed my kids' car seats correctly when they were little. So just know we can only do better when we know better, is what I keep reminding myself. And I totally did not know better. Let's not even go how I thought the tether was optional. It's just something bizarre. So I'm also a CPST. I'm also the host of the Twiniversity podcast. Hopefully you guys have listened to a few episodes of that. If you haven't already, feel free to tell Alexa to play the Natalie Diaz podcast, and it will just play in your house or car or wherever you are. But we have well over 200 episodes that are specifically for twin families. I'm not saying that singletons don't matter, but I am saying that we kind of, hello, we're Twiniversity. And I'm also a certified lactation consultant. So I am all about the boobs. I have about 1,500 clinical hours under my belt, the majority of that being with twin families from all around the world. So if you have any questions about anything boob related, breastfeeding related, know that we have an entire series that's dedicated just to that we call Boob Camp. Get it? See what we did there? So this is our boot camp. We got our boob camp coming up, and Amanda will put in links for everything. And Amanda, just so you know, I have totally no functionality over my keyboard. It's just possessed and keep putting in a C, but you guys could see me, so we'll worry about that later. But just wanted to give her a heads up. In addition to being a certified lactation consultant, I am also a childbirth educator, have been for a really, really long time, studied under Lamaze, and most importantly, though, the title that I most am proud proud of is that I am a twin mom. My twinnies are now 19. I know. How is it possible? She must have had them when she was 5. Exactly. I did. It was a very weird thing. I'm in Guinness, but whatever. We'll talk about that later. But I really am very, 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 very proud to be a twin family. And yes, it is a ton of work, but they are the best investment that I have ever made in my life. So just know, yes, it's going to be basically a year of just chaos. But after that, it just gets better and better. And you have this sense of accomplishment that you feel like you've climbed Everest without ever leaving your couch. But it's actually more fulfilling than that. But, I wouldn't know because I've never climbed Everest. So I don't really know if I should be talking about that. But yeah, I am super duper proud of being a twin mama. So this is what our agenda is going to be like today. Okay. So we are going to talk about top fears that you guys might have or top things that are keeping you anxious at night. We're going to talk about 4 things to do before your delivery day. And I'm sorry for those of you that are due next week. We got to rush. And for Emily that's in the hospital right now, it's only too late if you don't start now, right? And then we're going to talk about how will you know you're in labor, because these are kind of the critical things that I want you to know today. We'll talk about creating a birthday preferences sheet and everything. By the way, like no joke, we really do specifically, we created this just for you guys. I'm a super nerd, so I have, it's not laminated, but I did get mine bound. But this is the Twins Delivery Day workbook that we're telling you guys to get if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. It is certainly not required. But when we talk about birthday preferences, you'll see why you should consider getting it. And then we'll talk about how to advocate for you and your twinnies. We'll talk about recovery tips, and then we'll finish off the class with the first introduction to your twins. But if at any time you guys have questions, please make sure that you are continuously popping them in the chat. Okay. All right, kiddos. So we're jumping in with our first thing. Oh, this is the delivery day workbook that I was telling you about. I probably should tell you. So here's what's in it, just so you know. So if you guys don't know, the first thing includes packing list, which is a hospital bag packing list and a partner packing list. So for Bentley, you got that. You have a whole separate packing list for you. It's not what's going to be in Katie's bag, because you guys really do need to have 2 separate bags. We have worksheets on twin birthday preferences. We have doctor's notes. We have important people. Just, I don't know if you could see it, but we really do have I specifically created this just for this class. So every time we do a class, it's always 50% off. You could scan the QR code and you are solid. All right, but I'm jumping in now. I want to know what is keeping you up today and what is causing you the most stress. So, and Bentley and Katie, and for any of you that are there with your partner, if you have separate anxieties, then pop them in the chat. So right now, what are the things that are keeping you up at night? Is it about health? Is it about logistics? Is it about stuff? What are the things I want to know? What are the things that you kind of are suffering through? And I'm going to try to tackle as many of those as possible. So in the chat right now, if you could just think, what's the one thing that when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to pee for the 1500th time, what's the one thing that makes it hard for me to fall back asleep? Okay. So those are the things that I want you to put up there. So when you get a chance, pop them in. So yes. There's so many of them. So we got deciding between a C-section and a vaginal. That is Kim. We should not have to decide. We choose vaginal all the way. C-section if they choose for us. Of course, health is an issue. Bonding. Of course, Robin. Yes, I hear you. Lindsay says not knowing if I should plan for a C-section. We will be talking about vaginals or C-sections. I think I got a little bit covered in there. But yeah, I definitely, I know personally, I did have a vaginal delivery for the record. I planned on having a C-section delivery, but the babies had other plans. So that's why I say when you think that you're going to plan for something, that's really not as much in our control as other things. But I would always say err on the side of a vaginal delivery if possible. Worst case scenario, you're going to have kind of that double whammy birth, which you'll have the one-on-one. But in all sincerity, this is where I say, go back to that podcast. I know that we have a great episode. We have 2 episodes actually on double whammy births. One was with Julie and one one was with another guest by the other name of Natalie. So you could listen to those and you could get their opinions and hear their whole thoughts on kind of that double whammy birth. So Susan says she plans on ahead for attempting to breastfeed while still wanting breaks to sleep, of course. So how do I need to pump and have bottles? Yep, Susan, know that that's going to be something that we cover a little bit more in the boot camp, a little less today, but we do talk about kind of that introduction to feeding. Megan says, I've heard that you're supposed to diaper babies during feeds. I don't know how to feed and diaper two crying babies at the same time, especially in the middle of the night. That's definitely logistics. Making bonding happen during the golden hours. Yeah, we got a lot of concerns. So the thing is, we'll try to cover a lot of them, but I do want you guys to go and scroll through what everybody else is saying there. Okay, because I want you to see that this is a very anxiety kind of producing time, and you are not alone in this. And that's kind of where Twiniversity falls in. So besides Twiniversity having classes, we have a ton of free resources just on our website. You just literally, whatever it is, if you want to Google C-section, just go to Twiniversity. You'll see a little question, a little a little magnifying glass, just put in C-section. You'll get hundreds of articles on twin C-sections, but know that Twiniversity we have many different arms, and I want to make sure that you're utilizing as many as you possibly can. Okay, so in general, people often feel anxious about a lot of these things that we're talking about. So I love when people are worried about pooping on the table. Feel free to worry. The nurses are never going to tell you about it. You're not even going to know. Take that worry off. If you're worried about the twins' health, that's definitely something to be worried about, but please do not make up things to worry about. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if your doctor is saying that your delivery is looking great, the babies look great, your pregnancy is going great, your uterus looks great, your cervix is 10 out of 10, chef's kiss, then stop worrying because everything is okay. All right. I constantly feel that I have to remind a lot of our mamas that if there's nothing to worry about, let's not just make up things to worry about. And I know we all do it. I do it too. I did it yesterday at 3:00 in the morning. I couldn't sleep either. So I was making up things to worry about. So anytime that happens, I would like for you to put yourself in check whenever you possibly can. And I would like for you to just say, what is my reality? Okay. And your reality is everybody's healthy. Everybody's safe. Everything is okay, and you're fine. And then you go through the next part of your day. But it's not a bad idea if you are having a lot more anxiety than usual to either A, talk to your doctor about it, B, speak to a professional because it is a really good idea to have a mental health professional on your side. Honestly, I do not know why that is not standard of care in the United States, but neither is lactation. So let's not get me started. But you may really want to start having some really deep kind of dialogues with people that can walk you through your specific concerns, right? This also is a time that you may have a lot of feelings about your own childhood, and you're starting to think that maybe you're worried about recreating some of the badness, but I want you to focus only on the goodness and the things that you want to bring to your table as a parent, because this is your opportunity to have either a redo or a do-over, whichever you see is most appropriate. If you had a really crappy family life and a really crappy growing up, this is your do-over. You don't have to do anything that you had the last time. But if you had an exceptional childhood with unbelievable parents, then it's time for a total redo. So just think about that. And anytime you start to have anxiety, talk to your partner about it, talk to your besties about it, or literally go into the Twiniversity Facebook group and just plop it in there and just be like, I can't sleep because XYZ. And you will see a ton of people will come to your defense and say, hey, listen, I feel your pain. But just know that you are not alone when it comes to anxiety, because it's really, there's so many things that are unknown, but I do want to focus a lot on the stuff that's in our control today. Okay. So yes, there's a million things that we cannot control, but here are some of the things that we can. All right. So these are the things that I was telling you about before that I want to make sure that you know. I don't know actually what happened here, so I'm going to go to the next thing. And this is what I want to talk about, Twins Delivery Day Bootcamp. This is it right here. So these are the resources that we have for you. So we do have a week by week pregnancy timeline. So if you're 16 weeks pregnant and you're like, oh my God, does my belly match up? What questions should I ask my doctor? No, literally at Twiniversity, we have a whole list of questions that you should ask your doctor when you are 16 weeks pregnant. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is we have a Twiniversity monthly membership meeting that is every second Tuesday of the month. You could come and commiserate with your fellow twin parents. We have YouTube videos that have videos on every single week of your twin pregnancy from week 5 to week 40. It's all there with a ton of information that's there. Once again, all this stuff is free. Then we have our Facebook groups. We have our multiple birth discounts, which are like, I need to save 20 cents. This is a good way to do it. We have our baby safety class. If your hospital does not offer a safety class, be it CPR, first aid, car seat safety, and childproofing, we have taken that all care for you. And by the way, your insurance may actually cover a lot of Twiniversity classes. So ask me more about that if you'd like information. And don't forget, like I said, we have our podcast, we have an Etsy shop, we have double stroller reviews. So we do have plenty of stuff that's for you guys. Okay, let me take that slide off and go back to here. So now here's the things that you can't do too soon. So everybody's like, when am I supposed to do anything? How am I going to do it? Just know these are the most critical ones. So the first thing that I do want you to do, ideally by week 30, but I know that a lot of you are past week 30, is I do want you to pack your hospital bag. So why? And what does this matter? Why is this important? Well, a lot of us do tend to go to the hospital a little bit earlier than our delivery date. So over 80% of twinnies are born prematurely. The funny part about that stat is that premature babies are kind of like our jam because a lot of doctors won't let us go to 40 weeks. So while I say premature babies, I do mean that is really between kind of week 37 and before. Most doctors consider a full term for twinnies to be 38 weeks. So just know that when I say babies come early, that could be anywhere from week 30 to week 40, right? You have kind of like this big gamut. But I do know that post week 30, you're not going to be very comfortable. Your belly gets really heavy, your back starts to hurt. You really feel like doing less and less. So the sooner that you could pack your hospital bag and have every single thing that you need, that's when I want you to do it. Now, if you mentioned that, if you heard me tell Bentley before that I said that you guys do have to have 2 separate bags, you and your partner really do. So in our workbook, we have a hospital bag packing list, but today I kind of want to talk about your hospital, like your partner's hospital bag packing list. So while you're going to bring all the regular stuff, you're going to bring 2 sets of infant clothing, you're going to bring an extra long charger. I want you to know that there's a lot of things that your partner should have in their bags that you probably are like, oh, why do they really need that? So one of them is they should have a copy of your birth plan. Okay. So hopefully you worked on it together. Yes, you're going to have yours. Hopefully the hospital has one on file, but I do want your partner to have an independent copy to bust it out if something should kind of go off the rails. The next thing that I want your partner to have is I really want your partner to bring snacks. So yes, in the hospital, they do provide meals, but if you deliver at 2:00 in the morning, the pantry may not be open and you guys may be starving. And so why I would like a few snacks in your bag too, but I know that your partner will always be able to get to you. You may not always be able to get to your partner. So hypothetically, after the delivery of the babies, you go to recovery, your partner goes to the room with the babies. I want to make sure that they have what they need before you come out of recovery and get there. So once again, if he hasn't had a snack or she hasn't had a snack for 52 hours before because your labor was really long, throw something in your belly. So think a little pack of nuts. And I know you're saying, Nat, this is crazy. Why am I taking food to the hospital? Trust me on this one, like for realsies. So some dried fruit, some dried nuts. Well, nuts are always dried, but anything that you could have a quick snack, even M&Ms, I don't care what it is, but it is really difficult to find things at certain hours in a hospital, especially if you are in kind of a smaller hospital and not here in the big kind of Gotham City that I currently live in here in New York. So I want them to have that. they also need to have their own sets of clothing, right? So for my Papa Bears and for my partners, it's really important that you do not pack t-shirts. You only pack button-down shirts, no polos, because skin-to-skin contact is equally as important for you and the twinnies than it is for Mama Bear and the twinnies. So I know a lot of my partners, everybody's like, oh, it's a big deal. I'll throw in a t-shirt. Nope. It is really, really difficult to kind of get into like slap a baby into your t-shirt to make sure that they're super duper warm and comfortable. So if you have a button down shirt, you're going to be good. So your partners also need to have their own slippers. These are things that you should have too. But I have seen countless times that my mamas are already like super regular, like they have everything they need. They got their slippers, they got their toothbrush, they got their toothpaste. My Papa Bears and my partners need to have the same. So please don't worry about throwing your sneakers on and off. Just get yourself like a pair of slides or a pair of flip-flops from Walmart or something, but have something that you could slide on your feet quickly. So when you are resting in the hospital next to your partner, that in the middle of the night, if you need help, you don't have to walk around with bare feet. Okay. So we're going to have that. There are a million other things that I would like for you guys to have, too many to count. We do have it on in our workbook, but we do also have a ton of information for partners on our website. So know that you could always go there to kind of get a more exhaustive list. So that's just one thing. So the other thing that I want to mention is if you are considering cord blood banking, if you have not had that discussion with your doctor yet, please do. So I have been a partner of CBRs for over 15 years easily because I am one of the people who would have used their cord blood had they actually stored it. But this a million years ago, when I delivered 19 years ago, I honestly didn't even know that that was a thing, to be very honest with you. And there could be people here today that don't even know that it's a thing. But if you are considering banking your twins' cord blood or cord tissue or anything else, you need to get that lined up now. And typically I ask my partners or my Papa Bears to have it with them so that they could take care of any paperwork. They have to call the courier. They got to get that all done. So now why do we even talk about this at Twiniversity? Yes, they are a partner. I will be very transparent and tell you that, but that is not the reason why. I am telling you this because they are a partner. All of the partners at Twiniversity were specifically chosen by Twiniversity. We do not accept unsolicited partnerships. So just know from now till the cows come home, I'm doing this 15 years. If I haven't sold out now, I will not be selling out anytime soon. So when it comes to cord blood banking, the reason why I am constantly on a soapbox is because I am a huge advocate for being an organ donor and for being a stem cell donor and for being any type of donor I can, because that's just me. I've always been that way. And I was really, really, really frustrated to find out that within the United States, we cannot donate our baby stem cells. If we had a singleton, we could, but for twins, we're actually denied. So you could go to, I think it's bethematch.org, where it's all about organ donation. You'll clearly see that singletons could donate their stem cells and they'll donate their placenta and their umbilical cords for just any Tom, Dick, or Harry. However, for us, it's considered medical waste, and it's really nothing that should ever be used as medical waste. So if you are considering banking your stem cells, banking your cord tissue, please make sure that you line that all up. Why do I say CBR versus anybody else? Number one, they're the largest. They have the most to lose because it is not a federally regulated kind of company. It is a private company. That means that the tinier companies could just go out of business, and not even tell anybody, which we had right after Hurricane Sandy many moons ago here in New York City. We lost a bank and they called people and come pick up your stem cells. And you're like, what? So they are very climately, geographically undesirable. They're in a boring area of Arizona, no earthquakes, no floods, no nothing. But definitely you want to give cord blood banking a call. So it's just literally CBR. And the best thing about it is no payment is due until they know they have a viable transfer for your twinnies. And that is a really big deal to me. Right? Because a lot of companies are like, pay $87 billion and maybe you'll actually have enough. That's not always the case. Okay, so just know that if you'd like to look into cord blood banking, you really should. You could use the code DUO2 and just literally contemplate it. Okay. But put it on the list of things that you have to talk to your doctor. And if you need more information, you could call them directly, or you could ask us, because we have a ton of Twiniversity families that end up banking because, like I said, they're just going to throw it in the garbage. Okay. The next thing that you can't do too soon is I want you guys to take a hospital tour. It seems that post COVID, hospitals are like, they really didn't need to have that tour. And I cannot understand why. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And when you go on your hospital tour, if they actually have one, there are things I specifically want you to look for. I want you to know, where the heck do you go in, right? If your water broke at 2:00 in the afternoon, are you going to go in the same entrance that if your water broke at 2:00 in the morning? Right? So like, where do we even go in? And now there's still a lot of staff shortages all around the country. So make sure that that's a big one that you find out. The next thing is where the heck are you? And I mean, like, where are you in relation to other things? So like, where is the labor and delivery floor in relation to the operating room, which you'll probably be delivering in regardless of whether you're having a C-section or a vaginal delivery? But where are you? Is labor and delivery on 7 and then the OR is on 3? And then where's the NICU? If the babies go to the NICU, where is that? Is it on the same floor as the postpartum? Is it at the same floor as delivery? And so I want you to know all these things because delivery day is really confusing. And especially for my mama bears that are going to be on a gurney and you're getting wheeled throughout the whole hospital, it just gets a little fuzzy. And so you might not know, am I on the west side, the E elevator, the 3rd floor, the 9th floor, because you're just being wheeled around. But I always want you to have comfort of knowing where your children are in your mind's eye. Right? So it's like, okay, if I'm in labor and delivery, that means that I'm on the 7th floor. If the babies are on the NICU, that means that they're on these elevators, but they're on the 3rd floor. Yes, I could get to them, but I have to have somebody transport me. Where is the recovery? The recovery is on this floor, but where's my postpartum floor? So just find out. So here's the list of the places that I want you to know. Okay. Where's the entry? Where's the labor and delivery floor? Where's the postpartum floor? And do they have more than one postpartum floor? And do they have more than one labor and delivery floor? Because if they're having a birth boom, like all the people that are going to deliver in May and September, which historically are the biggest birth months in the United States, just know that sometimes they spill people over into like a women's unit post-delivery. So just ask if that's going to be a possibility. Then I want you to know where the recovery room is, where the NICU is, where the nursery is. These are the important places that I want you to know in the hospital. Now, yeah, I do have a significantly bigger list of questions for you to ask your hospital, and they are these are literally all the hospital questions. They are listed in here because it's everything from, believe it or not, if you're before 24 weeks pregnant, they may not want you going to labor and delivery. They actually may want you to go just to the standard ER. So I want you to ask your doctor or your hospital these questions. So if they have, a virtual tour or a pre-recorded tour, like Trista was saying, or Robin was saying, then pay attention to those things. And if they don't answer the questions for you, there should be like an educational contact or even like a press contact or a marketing contact. And I would reach out to those people and be like, hey, you didn't cover these things in the video. Could you please give me some more information? All right. It's also not bad to find out who they have as lactation consultants. You will be shocked to know that some hospitals in our beloved country have people that are helping you with lactation that literally have no qualifications to even speak about lactation. Now, I am definitely a little spicy when it comes to that subject because I do know that we're like these weird second-class citizens in the medical community, right? So I only study breastfeeding medicine, whereas they're, of course, traditional medicine. But both of these worlds don't necessarily go together. So ask specifically, what type of lactation support do they have in the hospital? Is it available 24 hours a day? Is there somebody there 7 days a week? So that you know if they don't have the coverage that you need, you could have somebody lined up. And by the way, all your lactation coverage should be covered 100% by your health insurance. So even if your health insurance is saying, oh, we'll only cover people in network or we'll only cover 4 visits, not so fast, insurance company. If you go to healthcare.gov and you put in the word breastfeeding, you will see that every insurance company in the United States is required to cover unlimited lactation care for the entire duration of your breastfeeding experience. So I don't care what your insurance companies are saying to you in plain English, know that you could fight for that and you will get that all covered. And yes, I do feel that it is a critical support that every new family needs, especially if you are going to consider breastfeeding even for a day. Know that we have an entire class developed at Twiniversity that's all about breastfeeding twins, and breastfeeding twins is not like breastfeeding two singletons. It is exponentially more challenging. So you do need to line up that support, and you do need to know what support your hospital has in store for you, okay? Now, speaking of that, you're going to call your insurance company and they're going to be like, oh my God, you're having twins? That's crazy. Better you than me. How are you going to do it? Double trouble, blah, blah, blah. All the garbage that people say when they find out that we're having twins. And then before you hang up on them in a fit of rage, just say, hey, I have 766 questions for you. And the very first question, one of my favorites is, I know you guys cover the cost of my breast pump. However, do you cover pumps per live births or pumps per pregnancy? Bam! That means you might be able to get 2 breast pumps for free. Because if it's pumps per live birth, hello, you're going to have a few live births there. So get every single freaking thing that's coming to you. So your breast milk bags, your breast pumps, obviously, the flanges, any breast storage containers, all of that is covered by your health insurance. Do not listen to them when they tell you it's not. Can you see that this is a sore spot that I kind of have, because I'm really frustrated with you guys getting rejected when I know what the legal law is. Know that we have an entire article on breastfeeding laws within the United States at Twiniversity. Amanda, if you love me, you will pop that link in. Me and Amanda wrote it together. So you're going to have a lot of questions to ask your insurance company. Here's my list of stuff to ask your insurance company. Of course, it does talk about pumps, but it also talks about things like this. All right, hear me out. All right. Your grandmother, right? She had, or your mother, she had hip surgery, right? She comes home from the hospital. What happens? She's got a visiting nurse that comes to check on her, maybe a physical therapist that comes to her. She usually has a home attendant that maybe helps her get into the shower and get out, right? Like, we got some help. But yet you had major abdominal surgery if you had a C-section, and you were required to take care of 2 patients during your hospital stay, because your children are also patients of that hospital. Yet somehow we feel we're not entitled to any services. Bullshit is what I'm going to say about that. Okay. So if you want a home attendant, you want a visiting nurse, you want somebody to check up on you after your major abdominal surgery, no, you have to discuss this with your health insurance and say, listen, how many hours of home health aid am I available to have post C-section? How many hours of visiting nurse am I allowed to have post C-section? And I'll tell you this, the chances that, well, I'm not going to say the chances, the incidences of postpartum preeclampsia that have been happening, really, like, it has been fascinating. So I would love if you had a nurse come visit you, if possible, to check your blood pressure, to check your incision, to make sure that you're okay, so that, God forbid, if you need to be readmitted because you have a blood pressure issue, they find it first before you find it yourself. You could also ask your health insurance company, because of the growing rise of postpartum preeclampsia that's been going on in the country, will they cover an at-home blood pressure cuff for you? So some hospitals give them to new moms post-discharge. Some people are like, hey, go to CVS, pay the $40. But guess what? Not everybody has $40 to just spend at CVS for things that the hospital should be giving you. So please make sure that you are asking what services you're getting, and then just keep pressing until they give you what you need. So we have the list of questions. They're all in here. They're all in the workbook. So honestly, they are too many to count, but we did put this together for you since this is a free class. So we hope that you'll pay like our $5 or whatever the heck it is. But please make sure that you have a list. And if you cannot find a list on Twiniversity, know that just get everything that's coming to you. Okay, especially when it comes to your health insurance. But we literally, as you could see, it says visiting nurse, home with that attendant, physical therapy. I can't tell you how many people actually get these things covered, but they won't get them covered unless you ask for them. Okay, so you're going to call, make that very painful call to your health insurance company, be on hold anywhere between 40 and 900 minutes till somebody picks up the phone. And then when eventually somebody does, just have your list of questions and then just shoot them off. Okay. The next thing that I really would like if you guys do is seriously, and this is not like a big sales pitch for Twiniversity. I will tell you, that's not how we roll here at Twiniversity. We create programs that really will help your life. So if you choose to take a Twiniversity class, be it our breastfeeding class, be it our expecting twins class, which by the way is going to cover all of this stuff that we're talking about, plus more. It's over 70 videos. Our expectant twins class you could take at your leisure, but just know that should be covered by your health insurance. If you need a super bill so that you could get reimbursed for those expenses that you spend within Twiniversity, know that we will happily provide anything that you need that's specifically coded, because Emily on our team, God bless her, I don't know how she does it, but she keeps up with all the super bills to make sure that our families are getting maximum amount of reimbursement from their companies. So hopefully, knock on wood, maybe in January, we might be able to be in network. But in the United States, it is very difficult for childbirth educators and lactation consultant providers to be in network because we are not registered nurses. And this is where everything kind of falls apart. Okay, so we got that. Now, the Twiniversity class, I say, we have the baby safety class, we have the expectant twins class, and we have the twins breastfeeding class. Amanda, if you could pop those in for me, I will be forever humble. Okay. Oh my God. Maybe it's Zoom that's like crapping out. The C's are still going, by the way, guys. I don't want you to think it's now levels and levels. So now here's another thing that we have coming up for you guys that's free. It's going to be coming up in about 2 weeks. If you guys are concerned about budgeting, because I will tell you, if you have not, out of curiosity, all right, put in the chat right now. When you guys found out that you were pregnant, did you actually plan on a budget for how much you were going to spend on the babies? Yes or no? That's it, right? When we buy houses, we're like, we can't go more than $86 million, right? And when we buy a car, we know when we're walking on to the lot of how much we can and cannot spend. But very, very, very rarely do people take time to budget for the upcoming and existing expenses of twinnies. I will tell you, see that picture of me and that little guy right there, his name is Dan the Pepsi man. So Dan Pakin I've been working with him since my twinnies were little, and we were literally ready for college. Like, I was not that family like, oh my God, you're going to have to get an OnlyFans page, kids. You're above 18 now. That's what's going to happen to pay for your college. Like, we were genuinely ready. So I strongly recommend that if you have not ever worked out a budget, or you do not know how you could possibly save for things like retirement and college, I do really wish that you will join us for this specific presentation that, once again, is totally free. And it's just to make sure that you guys have a better experience than the majority of twin parents out there. Okay, so grab that scan. Amanda could put the link there too. So just know we got all that, but I'm going to move on. All right, now I want to talk about how you'll know when you are in labor. Okay, Bentley, I already thought about that. I have nothing attached. Actually, you know what's funny about that? Now he may just have solved all my problems. I did swear that I did see a Bluetooth keyboard here earlier. Do you see one behind me? Do you guys see something I don't see? Oh my God. I can't believe this is happening. Okay, guess what? Was that really it? That was really it. Bentley and Katie, if it's cool, can I send you a copy of each of my books? Would that be all right? Okay, good. So congratulations. Seriously, would have never thought about this in a million years that there was a secret Bluetooth keyboard someplace. DM us your mailing address on Instagram and Amanda will send those out to you immediately. You guys, just seriously, guys, why is there only one nerd amongst us? That's that. Okay, let's go back to how will we know that we are in labor? First of all, does anybody think they're in labor right now? Can we have a show? I want thumbs downs. Does anybody? I have had 3 Twiniversity classes in 15 years where I have had people have water break. Good times, all in person too, by the way. And one mom was like, "It's no big deal. It's fine." And I'm like, huh, it is a big deal. First of all, we have to clean the floor at a restaurant. But more importantly, I'm really stressed about that. And Megan, you didn't put your partner's name in the bunker, just throwing that out there. So feel free to add him into that. Okay. All right. So just so you know, if anybody is in labor right now, if you call 911, guess what's going to happen? They're going to take you to your nearest hospital. They are not going to necessarily take you to your delivery hospital. So I'm not saying that you don't call 911, but I do want to let you know that a lot of times when people find out that they're like, "Oh my God, my water broke. We immediately have to call 911. We got to get to the hospital." Sure, go to the hospital. But if you live in an area that has 5 or 6 hospitals, they may not be bringing you to the one that you want to go to. That's the first thing. Okay. That being said, you need to have a plan if your water breaks anytime during the day. Okay. That's the big one. Right. So the funny part about Twinnies is that we don't always have kind of like this organic, like Hallmark movie moment where our water breaks and we're like, "Oh my God, we're going to, let's go to the hospital. But first I have to jump in the shower and I have to wash my hair and I have to make sure that I'm ready, blah, 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 blah." Don't do that. Just literally go right to the hospital. Don't be those people on stupid television that are like, "It's not a big deal. This is my 5th kid. I know it's going to take a while." I don't care if it's your first kid. I don't care if you're a Duggar and this is your 21st kid. You go to the freaking hospital ASAP. Okay. So how do we know when to go? The first thing is if you're having contractions. What the hell is a contraction? How do I know that I'm having a contraction? Well, what a contraction is it's basically a uterine earthquake. Sometimes it's very low on the Richter scale, and sometimes it's devastating entire communities. So you have to know if you feel anything that is going on during your day, right? You have like a little quiver happening. All right, we'll take a little quiver. If that little quiver happens again in 15 minutes, pay attention to it. If that quiver happens again in 25 minutes, pay attention to it. As the quivers happen, pay attention. And when the quivers get consistent, you go to the hospital. Now, a lot of times people will be like, "But I don't know. How do I know if it's Braxton Hicks contractions or if it's real contractions," right? I don't care. I don't care if it's Braxton Hicks contractions or regular contractions. Go to the freaking hospital. Okay, let them determine what it is, because Braxton Hicks contractions are just contractions without progress. They're still contractions. Right? So like a Braxton Hicks contraction, whereas when we have like a real contraction per se, your cervix will start to dilate and everybody's going to start slipping and sliding right on out. With Braxton Hicks contraction, just still having those wonderful earthquakes without any cervical movement whatsoever. Boring. We want the cervical movement so we could expedite this whole process and slip and slide the babies right out. But if you feel any contractions anytime and they become regular, you tell your doctor. If you listen to nothing that I say to you today, which 90% of you will, okay? But if you listen to nothing, listen to this. I would rather you overreact 100% of the time than underreact once. Got it? I'm really serious about it. If there's anything that you hear that like in your contraction days and the days that are to be filled with your delicious pregnancy, always overreact. Nobody's going to get mad at you for going to the hospital for the 19th time that day. I really need you guys to pay attention, because if you are having real contractions and you do not pay attention, they could get to the point where they can't slow them down or stop them. However, if you go to the hospital soon enough and you're like, "Hey, listen, I'm feeling XYZ. I'm worried about this, that, and the other thing." And they see, "Oh, yep, her cervix is starting to dilate. Yep, this is really showtime. It's too soon. You're only 30 weeks. You're only 31 weeks. We could slow this down. Let's slow this down." But if you stay home, we can't slow anything down. All right. So better to overreact 100% of the time than underreact once. Listen to that. Hear my literal New Yorkie accent in the back of your head telling you that, to make sure that you and your babies are safe. Okay. Next thing, if you have like major level 10 back pain where it feels like right above the crack of your butt is breaking and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm so dying," just know that our tailbones are actually curved in. And if the babies are starting to descend, okay, so here we go. We got a baby that's starting to descend. Hello, nice to see you. I'm going to slip and slide right out. This is what I'm going to do. Babies always have a British accent. This is I try my best. Okay, so if your baby is trying to slip and slide out, but your baby is sitting on this tailbone, okay, so your tailbone's kind of curved like this. If they are going to be born sunny side up, which means that they're going to be born face up when they slip on out, their back of their skull could be hitting that tailbone, and it could be causing you a severe amount of pain. So a lot of times people be like, my back hurts because my belly's too big, or my pelvis is widening, or XYZ. Sure, all of that may be true, or there could be a baby skull that's sitting on your tailbone that, God forbid, could crack it. So guess what we're going to do? Go to the hospital. Very simple. No big deal. Better to overreact than underreact once. The next one is my water breaks. I hate social media for this specific reason. And I hate any television show where somebody goes into labor. None of that is real. Okay. Yes, on social media, maybe it is. But remember, that's her experience. That's her uterus. That's her babies. That's her cervix. That's not us. Okay. That's not you. The odds of it being you are slim to none. So if your water breaks and you're in the office, please call your partner and be like, hey, babe, I'm in the copy room. There's water all over the floor. I just lost my mucus plug. What are we going to do? Have a plan. If your water breaks when you're not together, are you going to meet at the hospital? And is somebody going to drive you to the hospital? Because if you're telling me right now that you're driving yourself to the hospital or taking an Uber, I mean, it's literally going to be time for an intervention. Yes, we do have moms drive themselves to the hospital all the time. And we also have moms deliver twins on the side of the highway. So yeah, those are all possible things that happen. So maybe tell Pam in accounting that you need her to drive you to the hospital. So have a work buddy or an outside buddy, but always have somebody that is ready to basically take you to the hospital so you are not delivering roadside, ideally. Okay? All right. So mucus plug. What the heck is a mucus plug? Why do I care? A mucus plug looks like a big loogie-ish phlegm that just drops out. It is literally the cork that was holding everybody in there, and we just kind of lose it. It looks like, from my boys, if you took like 5 Kleenex out of the box and you sopped it in water and then you slammed it on the floor, it could look something like that. It's very delicious. It's very appetizing. All right. So know that if your mucus plug breaks, we need to call the doctor and we have to go to the hospital. Okay. If you have any type of discharge, okay, I don't care if it's thick, if it's thin, if it's white, if it's red. I don't care. If something is coming out, that means that something could be coming in. And so if something is coming out and something could come in, that could be a risk of infection. So if anytime you have any type of discharge, tell your doctor. Now, here's the most disgusting thing I will say to you today. I know you're all excited about it. If you lose your mucus plug, or if you have like really interesting-ish discharge, take a picture of it before you go to the hospital and before you clean up. Because when you get to the hospital, if you could be like, hey, doc, this is what I saw, I'm really worried about it. The doc could say, oh, well, that color blood means that it's probably coming from here and it's nothing to worry about. Like, it's so interesting that we're so quick to clean up and like run. Honestly, take a picture of whatever is happening, show it to your doctor. You will feel a lot better about it once they see exactly what's happening, whether it's something that we have to react to or not. Okay, so any type of discharge, anytime, anywhere, please let somebody know. Now at the bottom, these are the big ones, and I already kind of hinted at it already. So in general, parents of twins have a higher rate of preeclampsia than the average bear, right? Our bodies are doing a lot more. What preeclampsia basically means is that our heart is just like, it's too much for me. I can't hold all this. And your heart starts to get like a little shaky. If that happens, your blood pressure is going to rise. Okay. But there's also other things that could happen. We're not going to know our blood pressure is rising if we're just in like the house, but we could notice a vision change or a vision disturbance. Like you have little like spotlights in your eyes or little floaters. You could have a really bad headache. And the headache is like, oh, this is crazy. I'm sensitive to light, like almost like a migraine. That could be blood pressure related because it's literally the pressure that's building up inside of your head. If you have swelling anywhere in your hands, face, or feet, you need to tell your doctor. If you are not peeing for an extended period of time, I'm going to say more than like 10 hours, and you know that you've been drinking water like nobody's business, you got to call your doctor. Okay. Now, those are all kind of preeclampsia, postpartum preeclampsia. I want you guys to just not watch out for that during your pregnancy, but post delivery too. And my Papa Bears, you guys need to be on point about it. All right. Because you're going to be the ones that are noticing the changes in her before she might even notice the changes in her. So if you notice anything, overreact, don't underreact. You could send me flowers and thank me later, or you could just name one of your twins, Natalie. It actually is a very beautiful name. I don't know if it's on anybody's list, but I've always really loved it. It's easy to spell, although some people put in a silent H. I don't know what goes on around there, but if I meet another Natalie, I get excited. It's few and far between. So just put that on your baby name list. I'll take that. You're welcome. Okay. But if you also notice that you have no movement, all right, you need to tell your doctor. So if you're like, hey, everybody is all over the place, I feel them all day, everything is amazing, and then all of a sudden you just feel like one guy having a party and like the chick in the back, like she's not doing much, call the doctor. Okay. Yes, there could be something wrong, but odds are there's one twin that's just bullying the other twin into your ribs or something. But I would rather you go and get that checked, and then you know that there's nothing to worry about. Okay. Now here's another weird one. If you just feel like something's off, okay, so it may not be that you had any discharge. It may not be that you have any back pain. But if you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, something is just bizarre, know that I want you to call your doctor. What? Do you know that before there was Google, there was something called instincts? I don't know if you guys have heard anything about them, but they existed. Like with your grandmother, like she probably heard about them, your mom too. So there's a lot of things that we talk ourselves out of because we could Google something and make ourselves feel better. But if every alarm inside of your body is going off, telling you there's something stressful happening, go to the freaking doctor. And don't make excuses. Don't be like, I know I'm overreacting. Oh my God, I feel so silly, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely not. You're going to go in there. I was going to say something so crude and I had to hold myself back. I will save that for a private class between us and some other time. But you walk in there like you own the joint and you're like, I need somebody to see me. And this is where my partners and my Papa Bears get to go extra ham, right? And you just walk in and you're like, listen, she needs to be seen by somebody. And they're like, we'll get to you in 1 minute. And be like, I'll give you 3, but that's it. My Nat told me that I have to do this. Give them my cell phone number, have them call me. Honestly, feel free to do that. It won't be the first time. And I love talking to angry nurses. It's one of my favorite hobbies. Or mothers-in-law. I'm great with that too. So feel free when you have a mother-in-law who tells you not to breastfeed or that, you know, you can't sleep train because you're killing your babies or something ridiculous, have her give me a buzz. Okay. By the way, my cell phone number, you guys already have it because it's my Zoom ID. So if you ever need to give me a buzz, feel free. If anybody wants to test it during this call, I'll answer your text messages. It's literally my phone, but the Zoom ID is literally my phone. So if you do need anything, you could always text me, you call us, or you could email us at community@twiniversity.com. I'm so excited about that C thing being gone. Oh, so exciting. All right. So now we have a deal. We do one deal for you guys every single time. We're doing 50% off our Expecting Twins class. So even if it doesn't get covered by your insurance, which it should, if it doesn't, know that we do have this. Amanda already put the link in there. So I'm going to kind of move along. I'm not going to stay on this page because I know that she has that. Okay. But you do have 9 months access to all of the videos. So you got plenty of time to watch it. If for some reason you need more than 9 months, just text us. We'll extend it. We don't mind. Okay, next thing is birthday preferences. Show of pause or write in the chat. How many of you actually made a birth plan or thinking about making a birth plan? Okay, so there you go. So some of you have. Just know everybody should. Okay, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a birth plan. I would just call it, these are my birth preferences. Okay, because plans change. Right? But if you prefer something and you're like, this is what I want to happen, really, I really think you should have that happen. So in here, blah, 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 Okay, we have a whole twins preferences worksheet. Most of you, hopefully, have a hospital that's going to provide this information for you. And they'll be like, hey, who do you want there to be on delivery day? Hey, do you want music in the OR? Hey, do you want to breastfeed right after delivery? Hey, do you want to circumcise your son? Do you want to be there? So, all of those things that you have, right? And look, oh, Amanda's the best. If you just want to buy the birth plan, you can. She put the thing to Etsy, which I think it's like $1 or something. So if you just want to get that, feel free to do that. But I want you to think about certain things, and I put the 3 biggest ones on there for us to discuss today. So the first one is, who will be there? This is where things get sticky, because everybody wants to be there, right? Everybody's like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. The coworkers, your family, your friends, the guy from the Uber that dropped you off. He has to know what happens, how the story ends, right? Everybody's going to want to be there. But you need to decide who's going to get to see you naked, because that's really the decision that you're making. Because post-delivery, you're going to want to have those babies to breast as often as possible. And if there are certain people in your friend circle, family circle, work circle, whomever, that you do not want to see your tatas, then they should not come to the hospital at all. They could wait to see you at home. You really need to begin establishing good breastfeeding habits in the hospital when you have all the free lactation support at your fingertips, right? Once you get home, you could put your boobs away and you could have some time and you'll be a little bit more regulated. But for those first 3 days or 2 days, however long they keep you, 24 hours, depending on the type of delivery you have, just know that if you are not comfortable with certain people seeing your breasts, they should not be visiting you in the hospital. I want you naked from the waist up, right? Waist down, definitely covered, please. There's going to be a little bit of bleeding going on. Nobody needs that, right? We don't want to scare the children. But even if it's your mom, if you're like, Ma, I don't need to feel judged by you, I'm just going to say, come on day 2 at least. But for that very first day, you really should gatekeep. And my partners, you should really be the one. You guys have to be the bad cop and just say, no, took this pregnancy class and we took this delivery day class. And it's really something that's important to us. So we're not going to see anybody for the first 24 hours. After that, you could find out what you want to do, how things are going, and say, okay, we're going to wait 48 hours. But post-COVID, one of the best things that I have noticed are people putting this plan into their birth plan. Because before we had a pandemic, everybody would show up the day that the baby's delivered, right? And they'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe it, blah, 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 blah. That's wonderful. But during COVID, when nobody could come there, we noticed dads and partners were bonding significantly more than they were pre-pandemic. We noticed the breastfeeding rates went up because moms were comfortable. They had nothing else to do, right? You were just stuck in your little delivery room. And so people were breastfeeding on demand with all the support that they had there free at the hospital. So these wonderful things came out of our crazy, horrible, horrible pandemic. But we did notice this wonderful sense of community and bonding that occurred during the pandemic because you guys were just left alone. And so I would really like for you to consider being left alone. But if you have family that's absolutely neurotic and they're not going to let it drop, do what you got to do. But just know, in a perfect universe, my advice to you would be have absolutely nobody in the hospital and see everybody when you come home, or even on day 2. Or they could go to your home and clean it while you're not there. So if they miss you, they could go hold one of your bed pillows and cry into it about how much they love you. That's fine. And while they're there, they should change the sheets because they're already in there. So thank you so much. All right. The next thing that I want you guys to think about your twin birthday preferences is your comfort measures, right? There are some people who are like, I could lose an arm, I'd barely notice. That's my daughter. And then I have my son who's like, if I have a cuticle, I need to stay home, right? There's different levels of your pain threshold. And I want you to have that discussion with your doctor about what your comfort measures and pain measures should be. So if you're like, hey, I really feel comforted by, using essential oils and meditating and playing certain music or having flameless candles, bring all those comfort measures with you. Whatever is going to make you feel more comfortable, that's what I want you to have. Okay. And if you're like, I hate pain, I want nothing to do with pain, I want to know nothing about it, like ask for your epidural in the car so that it's already running. Like have the drive through epidural, go for it, whatever you want, right? Just really be very honest with yourself about what you're capable of and things that you'd like. Now, of course, there may be times that during this whole delivery day process, you can't get what you want. You know what? I'm sorry too. I want you to have I really do. I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, I want you to have every single thing that you could ever possibly desire. But if there's ever a time that things are not going the way that you planned and things have to change, but you're really not okay with the changes, you and your partner should have a safe word. Okay. Remember the safe words back in the day of 50 Shades? Well, we're going to bring a new version. Okay. We're going to bring safe word 2.0. And so if something is happening where you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, you could say Palomino in the delivery room, and your partner will know that you feel away and they will try to protect you more or make sure that your wishes are being heard. Okay. So, but do really consider that. And also, I think every couple should, and I don't think it should just be for dirty stuff. It should actually just be for like, I can't talk about this right now, like Palomino. My husband and I have been doing this since we saw a Saturday Night Live skit where they used literally the word Palomino, which is why we still use that today. But anytime like we can't discuss something or we just don't have the bandwidth to really go through this, one of us will just pull the Palomino card, and we know that we really have to be respectful of that. So it's not a bad idea as just a couple and a family to have something instead of, because honestly, if we didn't have Palomino, I think that there'll be much worse words said after that if we didn't have that in our vernacular. And we've been using that since our 20s are little. So once again, I'm not saying that that's what you should do because I do it. I'm just saying because it is a wonderful way to not have to bring attention to the fact that you feel unsafe or unheard and your partner gets the message. Okay. The other thing is the easiest thing that a hospital could do is play a birth playlist for you. So this is something that you guys should start doing like tonight, like literally just sit on the couch, kick your feet up and think about all the songs that you want your twinnies to hear the day that they get here. Is it the song that played at your prom a million years ago? Is it the song that played at the coffee shop where you guys met? Is it the song that was playing while they were conceived? I don't judge. Whatever you choose to be on that playlist, go for it. But that is something that is really easy to happen during your labor and delivery process. Okay. So create that birth playlist and you will be a-okay. All right. Now, I kind of hinted about this already, but I am really sick and tired of people not listening to us. Okay. And listening to us, I mean, women in general. You boys are very, very lucky, and just be thankful that you do not have to walk in our shoes a lot of the times. But you would really think that a labor and delivery kind of place would be where people would listen to us the most. However, that's not always the way it goes. But this is a day that is going to imprint on your memory for the rest of your life. Everybody will remember their delivery day, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's in between. You'll remember the color of the walls that were in your room. You will remember scents that wafted by your room that somebody got Chipotle that day. But just know it's a big, big, big day that will literally like a stamp on your memory. So if you do not feel comfortable or you do not understand something, I don't want there to be any question marks surrounding this day for you. And so this is the acronym that I want you guys to remember. I want you to always remember to use your brain. All right. So if the doctor comes in and says, hey, Kelsey, we just want to let you know that, I know you've been pushing for a while, but we're going to have to go for a C-section. And you're like, what? Everything's going fine. The babies are fine. I feel fine. What's happening? Use your brain. Say, hey, doc, what are the benefits if we do this? And they could say, well, the benefits are it's going to expedite this process and you're not going to be uncomfortable. Who are they to tell you that you want to be uncomfortable or not uncomfortable? That's really none of their business, to be very honest with you. If you're fine with being uncomfortable, then nobody asked your grandmother if she was comfortable or uncomfortable. So the first thing you do is you say, what are the benefits? And then you say, hey, listen, I know that there are risks that are associated with C-sections. What are some of the risks that are associated? And let the doctor tell you, well, it's not common, but XYZ, blah, 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 blah. Okay, good. You're making an informed decision. And then if they say, like, you still don't feel great about it after everything you heard, just say, listen, do we have any alternatives? And then they're going to say, well, we could have baby A slip and slide right out, and then baby B might have to come via C-section. Okay, that's an alternative. No big deal, right? And of course, there's other alternatives depending on what the situation is. What is your intuition telling you? Like, does your intuition say, like, hey, Packy, her babies are going to be born any second. Everything is good. You feel good. Listen to that intuition and say, hey, doc, listen, could we just wait 15 more minutes? I feel like we're right around the corner. All right. So done. We got our intuition. And then you say, doc, what if we literally do nothing? What happens next? What if we decide that we don't want to have a C-section? What's going to happen? And then they could say, well, these are the risks. These are the things that can happen, blah, 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 blah. So let them jump through fiery hoops to answer your questions so that you can make an informed decision about the most important day of your life to this moment. Ask all the questions and feel good about it. And if you don't feel good, ask for a second opinion. Feel free to say, I want to see another doctor on the floor. The unfortunate thing is most time in hospitals, one doctor will not contradict the other doctor. But in general, if you feel better just having a woman doctor, or if you have a doctor that's, a 70-year-old guy doctor that's had, 3,000 births under his belt, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable is what I want you to have. And I know that while there are so many things that we could talk about, believe it or not, this is like the second most important. Right? So the first one was it's better to overreact than underreact. The second thing is please, and daddy-os and partners take control of the situation to make sure that everybody feels heard and recognized. This would not be included in this class if it was something that did not come up many, many times in multiple birth deliveries. Because I'm going to have another question, okay? Show of hands, okay? Or put in the chat. Say me, hearts, likes, thumbs, whatever the heck emojis you want to put up. How many of you, before you found out you were having twins, had like a vision of what you wanted your delivery day to be like? Or even like the post experience, right? Like that's it. So I see you, Katie. Like how many of us really, Lashana, I see you too. Like this is the funny thing is that a lot of us, before we found out we were having twins, we may have said like, oh, I want this type of delivery. I wanted to have a midwife. I don't want a doctor. I want a water birth. I want to be surrounded by candles and Enya and whatever the heck it is. Just know that when you had the opportunity, right? Like, hold on, let me just rephrase this. When you found out that there was that second heartbeat, okay? How many of you threw all those plans in the garbage? Me too. I'm with you guys too, right? A lot of us, like we think, okay, singletons, A, twins, WTF. Like that really should be like what's happening. But I don't want you guys to think that you deserve less than a singleton family because you don't. You actually deserve more. And even if there are singletons here, I'm fine. Actually, one of our best episodes at Twiniversity is literally called Shitting on Singletons. That's the title of the podcast of where we just literally shit all over people that have one baby because we are just sick of, we're like the lepers of the parenting community, right? Forget it. Ugh. Still at 19, I'm still going through this with them. Oh, Calgon, take me away. But for realsies, I want you guys to say, okay, what are the things that I did want in that singleton delivery? And I want you to apply any of those towards your twin delivery. I don't want you to change things just because there's a second heartbeat. You're building an entire family in a day. I want this day to be exactly what you want it to be. Okay? All right. All right. We're going to our next little slippity slide. I want to talk about recovery. Okay? If you noticed, I skipped over delivery. And you're going to be like, Nat, how could you possibly do this? For the record, we're all, when I grasp the human language, I will tell you, we've already been on for over an hour, just to put things in perspective. So if I were to cover all of the stuff that happened in a vaginal or a C-section, we would be here for 4 hours plus, okay? Which is why we have the on-demand classes that you could watch at your leisure. It's all covered in there. In detail C-section, in detail vaginal delivery, tips for both, it's in there, okay? But I don't know which one you're gonna have, but I do know everybody's gonna recover. So when you get to recovery, I want you to discuss that pain management plan that you put on your birth preferences sheet, right? You are the hangnail person. You cannot take anything. If they say, here's a Jeopardy buzzer and you can press it every 13 minutes, and every 13 minutes you're going to get a dose of the most happy juice you could imagine, I'd be pressing that shit like every second. I'd be like, bloop, tell me when 13 minutes is up. I'm going to just keep going, keep going. Okay. Also, if you ever watch Jeopardy, just watch them ring the buzzers. That is one of my most entertaining things because I cannot answer any of those questions. I am a mouth breathing idiot. I can't get any of them, but I just love how people are so excited to ring that Jeopardy buzzer. I digress. Pain. Okay. My pain Jeopardy buzzer. Second thing is if they're like, your babies need to be bottle fed, they have to have formula. It's fine. If they need to have formula for certain reasons that you feel good about, what are the benefits? What are the risks? What are your intuition? All that. Right? You go through that when it comes to formula. But if you're like, okay, I feel good about this, fine. Just know, give them all the formula. It's fine. You're not going to not breastfeed because they had some formula. When it comes to the rules of breastfeeding, the first rule is feed the babies. The second rule is protect your supply. The third is address the problem, right? But first and foremost, we feed those babies. So for any reason, if you can't, if you spent an excessive amount in recovery, if you are somebody that may not be able to breastfeed, you may have insufficient glandular tissue, right? If you're not sure, by the way, that you have, and every single one of you should have a prenatal visit with a lactation consultant. Every single one of you, because we look at things like your nips, like your boobs. We do a medical history. We talk about when you got your period. We talk about all these things that will give us insight into how easy it is going to be for you to breastfeed. So if you have not made that prenatal appointment, you need to do so like immediately, at least to make sure that you have all the breastfeeding supplies. If you do not have somebody local or you do not have somebody you're clicking with and you're like, Nat, she's not the worst, I will happily volunteer as tribute. I see probably 6 people a week, 6 new clients a week just for prenatal consults. And we do everything from talking about flanges to talking about supplies. So know that if for some reason there's a little bit of the hair on the back of your neck that's standing up that's saying, can I breastfeed? Will I be able to breastfeed? Feel free to make that prenatal consult. We'll go over everything and you'll feel a lot better about it. Okay. And yes, your insurance should 100% cover it. God bless them. Okay. So bottle feeding. A lot of times this happens too if your babies need to go under the bilirubin lights. So if they need some phototherapy. So I could go on for days about hyperbilirubinemia. It's one of my favorite words to say. It's very dramatic. But over 60% of babies are born with a need to have some phototherapy because what happens is your babies are so dependent on your placenta in utero and they're like, this is great. I don't need to have my own liver. Mama's got my liver because your placenta does everything. And once they come out, their little livers are like, what? I got to process my own red blood cells? No, thank you. And then the little red blood cells go back into their skin and their little skin turns yellow and their little eyes turn yellow. The only thing that takes it out of their body is poop. So if they're like, we got to feed the babies so that the babies could poop, whether it's breast, bottle, or both, do it because we need that poop to take those red blood cell garbage out so that the babies could go back to normal and everybody's good. But don't be surprised if they're like, hey, we need to do this. Literally, over 60% of babies have some issue with bilirubin, which is basically just blood red cell garbage. So Google it. I have a very bastardized version of the way I talk about everything, including breastfeeding, but that's one of the things that I see probably, I would say easily 60% of my babies definitely have some phototherapy. And remember, you have 2 babies coming. So the likelihood is rising over that 60% just because we're playing the odds. All right. Next thing is it is okay to ask for help when you were in the hospital and they're like, let us know if you need anything. You got to really let them know that you need something. A lot of times people are like, I don't want to cause problems. I don't want to bother them. No, they're literally there to be bothered. And so there's yet another podcast with a twin mom who's also a labor and delivery nurse. And she's like, my number one thing is I wish people would let us know they needed more support. Feel free to listen to that if you don't want to believe me, but the nurses are there to help you. So whether it's to get up to go to the bathroom, to work on positioning of your latch, to get an extra turkey sandwich because you're extra hungry, always make sure you let the nurses know that you need the support you need and when you need it, okay? It's also not crazy to take a bottle or two with you. In the hospital, they will have bottles, but I will tell you the God's honest truth. And Dr. Brown's has also been another partner for 15 years. I used them myself way before Twiniversity existed. Dr. Brown's was crushing the bottle system. Get a bottle or two of the Dr. Brown's bottles. Get the small little ones. Do I have any right here? No, that's the wide ones. Do I have any in here? I feel like I always have. I always have something at the ready. Okay, we want to get these little guys. All right, we want to put 2 of these in our hospital bag that are sterilized and ready to rumble. Okay, so if we need to bottle feed, I know that we're using the best that exists. A lot of times they'll give you like an old school silicone nipple right on top of the formula bottle. I still would put it into this because the level of this nipple is much more consistent with your boob than the bottle that they're going to give you in the hospital. So I know that that sounds crazy. And like, am I really bringing bottles to the hospital? Yes, you're really bringing bottles to the hospital. Once again, you could thank me later. Once again, you still haven't decided on baby names. I go with Natalie. Okay. You also need to drink a lot of water post-delivery. Now, if you ended up having an epidural, they're going to give you a catheter. If they give you this catheter, when they take the catheter out, your bladder is going to be empty. They're going to want you to pee 6 hours post-delivery because they don't want your bladder to be filled with pee-pee and sitting on your uterus, which could irritate it and then mess kind of some stuff up because everything's trying to heal. So when you are able to and when you are greenlit to start drinking or having ice cubes, take advantage of that and start drinking. I don't care if it's water, ginger ale, Powerade, anything, tea, coffee, I'm fine with it. But please make sure that you are drinking enough so that you can urinate so the doctors and nurses get off your back. Okay. And then I also really, really, really want you to talk about a post-birth meal. High protein, high fiber is what we're looking for because you cannot be discharged until you pass gas or have a bowel movement. And so how are you going to pass gas or have a bowel movement if you had a C-section and you couldn't eat for 12 hours before your C-section, and then your C-section basically took 24 hours? You have nothing in your system. So a post-birth meal is really important. So think steak and black bean burrito, a heavy duty hamburger, like just think, and anything, sushi, I'm cool with it. There's nothing off the table when it comes to breastfeeding. There are no contraindicated foods that are associated with breastfeeding unless there's a problem. But right now, we're not making problems that don't exist, right? That was one of the very first things that I said to you guys. So don't make problems that don't exist. So right now, eat whatever the heck you want. And when they tell you, get up, walk around, do what you got to do, please make sure that you are getting up and you are walking around because that's how we're going to get some of that medication out of your system. That's how you're going to start to feel like you're getting back to normal. Okay? All right. Now, this is the last slide that I have for you guys. I want to talk about your first introductions for your twinnies. It is very important that you go slow. There is no rush. If you are not comfortable tandem feeding the babies in the hospital, if you are not comfortable holding the babies in the hospital, tell somebody about it. Okay? Talk through it. There's a lot of people who have never met a baby that was that little. My babies were born at 4 pounds and like 4 and change. So Anna, I think, was like 4'6", and Johnny was 4 on the head. And then the next day they lost a lot of their birth weight. Like they were teeny tiny little beans. They were 3 pounds and change. So I had never held a baby that was that small before. And honestly, I was so intimidated. I even have one picture that my sister took of me. And if any of you read What to Do When You're Having Two, you will hear you'll first of all, now you'll hear my voice now that you know what it sounds like. But I basically tell the story of how when they were born, I did not feel capable of taking care of them because I delivered early. I really felt that I had already failed them. And because I had already failed them, I felt that I did not deserve to be their mother. I'm being really honest with you right now. But I am. In general, I will always be very honest with you guys because there's nothing, it doesn't help me to be like, oh my God, let's have puppy dogs and sunshine. I had no puppy dogs and sunshine. None. Literally none. I had a postpartum hemorrhage. I have babies that I didn't get to meet for days. I didn't even name my own children. I was in the ICU for so long post-delivery that I literally just told my sister and my husband, just name them, tell me who they are because I don't know if I'm going to make it. This is the truth. But the thing is I wish somebody would have said, That's okay to feel that way. And I'm sorry that you feel that way. Let's figure out how we could help you. But nobody said that. Nobody said that. But my sister eventually said, all right, let's go. I was like, we got to go. She's like, let's go. Where do you want to go? I'm like, I don't know where we could go. But then like my milk was already coming in and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this garbage? Like I was so down about the whole experience. It's because I just felt like everybody was rushing me. Like you have to breastfeed and you have to pump and you have to do this. And it all was so overwhelming. So do this. If you feel overwhelmed, you just say Palomino and you just go slow and you take it step by step and you be really honest with yourself and say exactly what's on your mind, no matter how much it may hurt somebody else or how much it may hurt you to say it, but say everything that's on your mind because a lot of us, right? And this is going to also sound super shitty and I'm okay if you judge me. How many of you only wanted one? I mean, there are so many families that are out here that literally were like, I did not sign up for this. I did not sign up for the master's class of parenting. I wanted one baby. I wanted one baby. I wanted one baby. I wanted one baby. I wanted to have a water birth at this birthing center on 14th Street and 9th Avenue. Could still remember it. I wanted to like wear my baby in a baby beyond and go to the Met and be like, baby, that's a Picasso and you're going to love it. And then baby, we're going to go to lunch and baby. And by the way, I'm really not that kind of person. I don't know if you get that vibe from me, but I just had like this vision of what like Manhattan motherhood would be like, which by the way, I am an OG New Yorker. So my family got here in 1872 and we have never left this block. I am still in Little Italy from my family being here from Naples, coming to New York. So I did not come to New York with dreams of making it on Broadway or getting some fabulous job in finance. No, I just happened to be here because we're too lazy to move. So this is where we ended up. But I had like this vision of what I thought motherhood was going to be like. And it just wasn't. It just wasn't. So you got to go really slow and you got to be really gentle with yourself and you got to be gentle with your partner and you got to be gentle with your babies. And if things didn't go as planned, if you ended up having a C-section and you wanted a vaginal delivery, if you don't talk to somebody about it, we're not going to know how you feel. And then when you're snapping at us, we're going to think you're hungry or you're mad at us or we did something wrong. But we didn't do anything wrong. We have a hard time communicating sometimes, but that's where we pull out the palominos. Okay. So always, please, I beg you, just be really, really honest with each other and just really go slow and ask for that help. If it overwhelms you and you're like, I can't do this, like twins, like, no, I don't want a nursery school. You have one, your partner has one. You have one, your sister has one. You have one, the nurse has one. It's okay to split that up for a while until you feel like you could handle it. It's fine. If it takes you too long, then maybe give us a call. And maybe there's things that we could do just logistically to tell you how to make things a little bit easier. Okay. But for real, like don't go crazy. Don't drive yourself nuts thinking what should happen, right? There's a whole section in the new book, in the Twin Sleep Guide, right? That's literally stop shooting on yourself. And that was another podcast episode with Fran Petrie. So listen to that one. And it's basically about how we think things should be. But what does that even mean? Why should it be anyway, but the way that you and your family want it? For real, there is no should. The should is whatever you guys want. That's what I want for you. Okay, but for real, the things that are in our control, right? We can ask for help. We can go slow. We can drink our water so that they leave us alone every 10 seconds when we didn't pee. For God's sake, what the hell do they want from us? They just took the catheter out and they're already rushing us. Did you pee? Did you pee? Did you pee? I know why they're saying it, but it comes off as a little militant when you're in the hospital. Okay. And it's all right to be nervous and it's okay to be scared and it's okay to not want to hold them because they're so little, especially if they go into the NICU and you're stressed about it. I'm going to tell you, a lot of us have the beginnings of a NICU journey. My kids were there. My daughter was there for 31 days. My son was there for 14. I delivered at 34 weeks on the day, just to kind of give you an idea. And initially, I never knew anybody that was in the NICU. Right. So like I had no expectations of what I thought it was going to be like. I just knew that it was like an ICU for babies. I wasn't aware that there's different levels of ICU for babies, just like there's different levels of ICUs for adults. right? So I didn't know that like one baby was going to have more issues than the other baby. I really had no idea, like seriously, like none. And I'm not saying that you should go now research stuff on the NICU and you should get ready, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe you should do that. But I do believe that you should ask all those questions and use your brain while your kids are in the NICU to get the answers that you need. I'll also tell you that if for whatever reason your kids go to the NICU, do not use your regular pediatricians while in the hospital. Use the staff. Use the staff pediatricians and use the staff neonatologist until you are discharged from the hospital. That way, you could always see them, right? Because if you use your pediatrician from home that you'll eventually go to down the line when you're kind of discharged from the hospital, you're only going to see them before and after visiting hours. I mean, before and after office hours. So if their office is open from 7 to 7, you're not going to see them until 6 a.m. or maybe 9 p.m., depending. So if you use the staff people, the staff pediatricians and the staff neonatologists, you could ask as many questions as you want because they literally work there. Okay. And please, this is a big one. This was an issue that came up this week. So I do work with a significant amount of families one-on-one. And my team knows that nothing feeds my soul more than when I get to work with you guys in person. So here in the New York City area, I will travel pretty much anywhere. As if you put up the bat signal, I will be there. But this weekend, I went to a house of a family and they were definitely a little bit lost. And I had noticed that the babies were a little bit dehydrated. They had a very, very weak cry and they weren't urinating. And so that is a huge red flag to me as a lactation person, right? We want our babies to have at least 4 poops a day by day 4 and at least 6 peepees by day 4. And we want those babies eating every 3 hours, 24 hours a day at minimum. They may even want to eat every 2 hours, right? And we're going to feed them every 2 hours. But these parents they had no idea that they had to feed the babies like this. And so they were putting the babies to breast. And unfortunately, the mom had very, very inverted nipples and the babies were having a very difficult time latching. And so because they had a difficult time latching, they weren't getting any nourishment whatsoever. And it had been well over 24 hours that the babies had been eating. And so I'm like, hey, what are we doing here? And so I don't ever want to be judgmental, right? Because we can only do better when we know better. But I do know that those babies had to eat more. And so I was like, we got to get food into these kids, right? Feed the baby, protect the supply, address the problem. I know where we have to go. And so I went back to the discharge orders because I was like, if the hospital didn't tell them that, honestly, this is on the hospital for negligence, but clear as day, the discharge orders was very explicit about everything that the parents and the babies should be doing, and they just didn't read it. So please, before you leave, you're going to sign your discharge papers saying that you read everything, that you know the rules, that you understand. Don't just sign it. Actually read it before you sign it. And if they are pressuring you, sign it. We got to discharge you. We got another baby in the hallway, blah, 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 blah. Say, you got to give me a second. They're still charging you for the whole day in the hospital, even if you leave at 9 o'clock in the morning. So don't feel bad if you're going to take another 20 minutes reading something. Take your time, digest what's there, ask the questions that you need to before you go home. Okay. Also, not a bad idea to get your car seats checked before you go home. You could go to safekids.org. You can find a local car seat tech in your area. Some people do it for free. Some people do it for like a very, very minimal charge. If you guys are here in the New York City area, you literally go to Grand and Lafayette. I will meet you at the pump right there. I will check them for free. Okay. As long as you could just get to me, Mondays and Tuesdays are my car seat days. Know that you could get here. Okay. If you want to do a virtual check, I'll try to help you out as best as I can on a Monday or Tuesday. If I can, if I have office hours that are available, but know that you could always go to safekids.org and you could find a local tech in your area, but you really should consider that. All right, guys. And I talked a lot today and I know we covered a lot. But I am telling you, the days are long, but the years are short. That is literally me 7,000 years ago in the NICU. Yes, I have a ginger. Yes, I do not know how that happened. No, I did not pay extra at the IVF clinic. Yes, I am still confused about it. I look more like my dog than I look like my child. I should have put a picture of my dog there so you could see what I look like. But yeah, I am still super duper surprised that these are my kids. I really, really love them and they really are my friends. And it's interesting, which you all went through, right? Going from that transition from you're still a kid and you still have to listen to your parents, but you're kind of an adult. So what do? Right? It's an interesting transition. They're going to be 20 in December, but I freaking love my kids, man. I have no regrets, like no regrets, as they say. I have literally none. And that is, if I had to literally have one wish, like ultimately, that's all that I wish for, is that you could look back on the time of your parenting your 20s and say, we did as best as we could. Did I do everything right? Absolutely not. Hi, I just literally admitted to you that I wanted to abandon my children in the hospital, right? I did not do everything right, but I did the best that I could, which is all that I could do. And they accept me for who I am. They know. And every time, like even when they were teenagers, they would be like, mom, I'd be like, listen, I have never been the mom to two 13-year-olds. How the heck am I supposed to know how to do this? Like, we'll learn this together. And so we've always been a team, and you guys will always be a team. And my team comes first before my friends, before my outside family members. It's myself, it's my husband, and my children. That is it. That is the core. I'm not saying that my mom doesn't matter. I'm literally in her apartment right this second. So of course she does. Yes, my mother-in-law is important. Yes, my sister's important. Yes, all these extra family members make up my wonderful family that I have, but nothing is more important than the Diaz's, just the four of us. And that's what I want you guys to focus on too. Okay, so those are my kiddos. Ugh, I love them so much. And here, if you didn't grab it before, this is our delivery day deal, 50% off. But I should tell you, it does. Today is what? Today's Monday. It does end Wednesday at midnight. So I don't want to surprise you guys and then you guys get mad because I don't think I said that before. But please make sure that you do this by Wednesday, because this is one, we don't have a lot of ways that we monetize at Twiniversity. Classes are one of our big ones, and we do have an entire staff that dedicates themselves to you guys. So if you could find it in your heart and support us this way, that would be great, because it really is a win-win. And then finally, we have the best freaking partners in the whole wide world. Seriously, we're so fortunate to play with the people that we play with in our little Twiniversity sandbox that we always have a grand prize giveaway. And so you guys have kind of first dibs being here. So if you go to our Instagram account, which you could just scan that right there, our prize for this month is $6,400. So you get our Twiniversity lifetime access to our Twiniversity app, an amazing baby trend new wagon that just came out with a parent tray that's going to knock your socks off. You're getting a washer dryer sterilizer from Brezza, which I think is about $350, which is great if you do not have a washing machine, like a dishwasher. I mean, don't put your clothing in here. But if you do not have a dishwasher, this does everything. Even if you live in a mobile home, it is entirely an independent unit. You get a whole set from our friends at Dr. Brown's Bottles, so you don't even need to buy those bottles to put in your hospital bag. And then you get an entire kit of Twiniversity stuff, okay? You get copies of our books, and then I believe you get classes and stuff like that. All the details are there, so just click and go to that, and don't miss out, because literally this is what we do. But at Twiniversity, seriously, we pride ourselves on making sure that you feel good. We don't say that we're educators. We're certainly not influencers. We're certainly not, I don't even know what word you want to put us through, but just know that every single day, myself and the rest of the Twiniversity team, we wake up to make sure that you have a better experience. We could only lead a horse to water, though. Okay, it's up to you guys whether you want to receive that from us. So until the next time, I thank you very, very, very much for joining us today. And I am so glad that you took the 75 hours that this class just lasted, but that you guys took the time out of your day to be with me and the rest of my team. And to be very honest with you, I am still, after 15 years, really, really, really humbled by that. And there's nothing more that I could wish for you than to just have happy babies. And if you have questions, like I said, you could call me, you could text me, you could literally send us a message. I'm just Natalie at Twiniversity, community at Twiniversity. You could slide into any of our DMs, but I promise you, if there's a way that we could help you, we really, really will. And if you don't believe me, literally, you could ask anybody at Twiniversity, because we are not a typical company. We run like a nonprofit, but I'm not a nonprofit because I don't want a board and I don't want people making decisions for twin families that don't really get it. So for now, we'll continue to do what we do. So if anybody has any questions, you could shoot them over to me. I'll be happy to take a few if we have any. If not, get the hell out of here. Go have a wonderful delivery day. I hope to see you at the baby budget event with Dan, and then hopefully at our next twins delivery, our twins boot camp, which will talk just like this, but only about breastfeeding. Okay, so that'll give you kind of the basis. So if you're like, I need to get a little bit more, we'll talk all about that. And I thank you so much for the hearts. They were so, so cute. I saw that. That just made my day. All right, kiddos, get out of here. I'm going to go have a tuna fish sandwich and go pet my puppy on her belly. And until next time, see you later, alligators. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye, kids.